The views and opinions expressed on the following program may not necessarily reflect the views of the staff, management, or board of Hope Media Group and KSBJ. It's what's happening around us, in our town, suburb, city, in our community. It's Community Beat with Kim Kasi McKee on 89.3 KSBJ.
Well, hello and welcome to Community Beat, where we're keeping you tuned in to the topics that are impacting our local communities and helping them thrive. I'm your host, Kim Kasi McKee, and today we'll be talking about an organization that helps to honor the memory of our veterans who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. Joining us today is Scott Dimassi with Wreaths Across America, Houston. Hello, Scott. Welcome, and thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Hello, Kim. Thank you very much for having me.
So, Scott, what is the mission of Wreaths Across America, Houston?
It's pretty simple and straightforward. It's to remember, honor, and teach. We remember those that have gone before, we honor the ones that are currently serving, and we teach the little ones to where we don't do it again.
That is awesome. So there are projects that you are working on. What is the project?
The main thing we do year-round is we gain sponsorships to place a live main wreath, these are all handmade wreaths, on our veterans' graves out at the Houston National Cemetery every December.
Now, someone may be wondering, why would you be talking about laying wreaths in December in the month of May?
There is never a bad time to honor our veterans.
That's
but
right.
For us, it's a year-long process.
Yes.
A lot of it happens those last 60 days of the year when people are thinking about Christmas at that point.
Sure.
It's not a Christmas event. The wreaths are grown over the year, and that is wreath season. That's when they're harvested. So we're not a Christmas event. We're not a Veterans Day event. We kind of fall right in the middle there. But what's nice is that with the public, the way they think of their relatives, we don't know when they might have passed that are there. So we try to keep it in front of them all year long because we can only place what we have funding for.
Sure. So how many wreaths to date has been placed on the graves of our fallen soldiers?
So each year I can't speak for the entire country, but last year there was over 3 million placed just by Wreaths Across America.
Wow.
3,000 cemeteries.
That is absolutely amazing. I'm looking here at the growing statistic year after year, where last year 47,000 were placed. Was that in the Houston area alone?
I was just at the Houston National Cemetery.
Wow. That is absolutely incredible. So tell me, how did this all get started?
It's a crazy story, but my son was, I believe, 6 years old at the time when the first blink came, and we didn't start it. The Civil Air Patrol was already running a ceremony for Wreaths Across America. We just weren't placing wreaths.
Okay.
When we came. And then when my son was watching a YouTube video of what they do in Arlington, he was looking at the video and he's sitting on my lap. And we started talking about it, and he says, well, why doesn't Houston get wreaths?
Okay.
Which is a fair question in his words, or why don't our guys get them the same way they get them?
Good question.
But the way the report made it look is so you can go buy the wreaths and get them delivered and go put the wreaths out. So that's what we did.
Okay.
We called the cemetery to ask when we do it, when they show up, how does all that work? And they said, oh, we don't do that here. And the lady was very nice. And she explained to me it's a really big cemetery, and there's not enough volunteers, not enough funding, all those things. I explained it to my son, and I thought we were done. But if you ever try to reason with a 6 or 7 year old,
you're not done that really easily.
So later in the day, he asked me a straightforward question. We were doing something else, and he said, well, Dad, what can one person do? I was like, oh, my dad, I'm ready for that one.
Wow.
Hey, look what Ben Franklin did. Look what Thomas Edison did. They were one person. Look what they did. They changed the world. And he looked at me with a straight face and said, well, let's go get some wreaths.
All right.
That was it. We were done. And
wow. And that was how many years ago?
This is our 17th year.
That is absolutely incredible.
I should point out, I'd never been to the cemetery before, and I understand why they hadn't done it before. It's huge.
Yes.
It's a big place. And this year there's over 100,000 buried there.
That's incredible.
But we did the first year, with a few months, we laid 14,000 wreaths, and it's gone ever since then.
And those 14,000 were laid in the Houston National Cemetery. Incredible.
And it is a sight to see. Everyone thinks that it's a sad day. It's not a sad day. It's a time, if you have a loved one there, you're not alone.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and it is a beautiful sight to see. I have been to the cemetery several times with different loved ones. I can remember the first time I saw a photo even of the wreaths at Christmas time. And oh my goodness, it is breathtakingly beautiful.
It makes you stop in your tracks when you see it done.
Absolutely.
It's a sight to see it all happen. And then when you come back the next day, which is what I like to do, because wreath day is usually pretty busy for me, so I don't get to experience the wreath day.
Sure.
But so we come back the next day where there's not a whole lot of people there. You can just sit and you can take it all in. And that's a pretty good day.
Absolutely. Well, if you're just tuning in, my guest today is Scott Dimassi. He serves as the director for Wreaths Across America, Houston. And we're talking to Scott because it's so important for us to remember our veterans really all year long, the price that they have paid and continue to pay, and many of them with their very lives. And so Wreaths Across America is literally a physical thank you. These beautiful wreaths that are placed on the gravesite of these fallen soldiers all around the world. And we're certainly very honored that right here in Houston, there has been over 100,000. Easily.
Everyone in the cemetery has gotten a wreath multiple times. We may not have been able to do them all on the same year, but over the years we've rotated through, and everyone that's interred there has received a wreath multiple times. And the goal is to get them all.
Yes. So tell me, how does the process work? Does a family get their wreath and they themselves go in to lay it on the site, or does someone else do the honors?
The easy answer is yes.
Okay.
So
okay.
If there's a local family that has a loved one there, they can certainly go and place the wreath on their loved one. We just ask that they order it that way so we can mark it for them.
Okay.
And what we do the night before or the day before the event, we actually have volunteers. We come mark those specific graves. So if your grandfather's buried there, we mark the grave to where no one will place a wreath. That
Sure.
way you can come out wreath day and place it yourself and spend the time yourself.
That's awesome.
However, we know we have a lot of people out of state that may not be able to make it to the event. So at the end of the day, generally 2:00 or so, after all the wreaths have been placed, we have other volunteers come out. We check to see which ones didn't get done, and we make sure those families still get the wreath placed for them.
That's awesome.
That way, in the end, your loved one still got it. So whether we place it or you place it, they get the wreath in the end.
Okay. That is wonderful. So tell me a little bit about how does the process happen? Just say a family is listening and they say, you know what, this year I want to do that. I want to get a wreath for my loved one.
So it's easy. We make it as simple as we possibly can. So our website is WAA, Wreaths Across America, WAAHouston.com. Right on the front screen, there's a sponsorship button. Click there and you can fill out all the information to sponsor a wreath, and you can put your loved one's information at the bottom. There's a place for everything. Once you click button, you're done. And then it'll have the payment information. But after that, it falls into a spreadsheet for us to where we can mark those graves and things like that for you. After that, you're done until December.
All right.
December comes up. We're there most of the week. But on Wreath Day, which is Saturday, December 16th, you come in and the ceremony starts at 11 a.m. sharp across the country. Everywhere it starts at the same time. We start with a moment of silence. We do all ceremonial things right after that. So we have our flyover, our Marines, our bagpipes. We do all those things. About noon, we'll start laying wreaths. And at the section where your loved one is, you'll go to that section and there'll be wreaths that are piled up there on the edge of that section. You can pull the wreath out and take it to your loved one, and you'll find the grave. You'll see the flag marker on it, and you can do it the way you like. The whole process on Wreath Day only takes you got an hour's or 45 minutes worth of ceremony and about an hour's worth of wreath laying. It goes really fast.
Wow.
Once things started.
And what a beautiful way to memorialize our loved ones.
It's very humbling to watch as it all unfolds, and everyone does it different. We have some folks that will come out and they'll place a wreath and they're there for 2 minutes and they leave. That's great. We have others that will spend the entire day. They'll set up chairs around their loved one and they'll sit and talk for the day. And there's no limit. We encourage all of that. We're all here together, and we expect around 17,000 people to be on the property that day. Usually,
wow,
it's a busy place.
It sure is. And I understand the wreaths are not very expensive.
No, if you went online and tried to order a wreath from a generic wreath company, you're probably $40, $50.
Yes.
These are 20-inch, but they're live wreaths. So these are actually made out of Maine balsam. They're made by hand with a big red ribbon on them. So for $17, they're made by hand and they're shipped down here the week of Wreath Day. So these were probably on a tree 2 weeks ago, and now they're in front of us, but it includes shipping and handling and anything else that you're adding into. For a $17 flat fee, the wreath comes.
That's awesome.
And you're not required to go put it out. So if you're not here, or you can't make it, or there's other commitments, we'll put it out for you.
Wonderful. Well, we are so excited to be able to, for some, to introduce you to Wreaths across America, and for others to reintroduce them to you. This is just one of many ways to honor our fallen military members who have paid the ultimate price for our freedom. Wreaths Across America has a mission to remember, honor, and teach, which I think is beautiful. Remember those who've gone before to keep our country free, honor those who are serving now, and teach our youth about our history as they will be making the decisions in the future. That is awesome. I also remember, Scott, that KSBJ has worked with Wreaths before in the past. And just tell us a little bit about how that partnership looked.
It has come up a couple different years with different things.
Yes.
My favorite is we have some years where it's been a day of giving type.
Yes.
Where we were the recipient of the day of giving. We've had other years where KSBJ came out and set up prayer tents on Wreath Day. It's a pretty emotional day for a lot of people.
Of course.
And since it's a non-denominational event, it worked out great with KSBJ, and they had volunteers, I believe 3 separate tents across the cemetery, and there's just volunteers waiting. You need a little help with the prayers, that's great. And they were, I don't want to say they were busy, but they were used all day long.
That's awesome.
And it was awesome. It was a great touch, and we had nothing but good compliments from the visitors that came out that day.
That's awesome. Well, for all of these years, I'm sure you've seen many stories happen on these sites. Do you have maybe one you could share with us?
I'll give you my favorite.
Okay.
And it was our second year, I believe. They all kind of blur together this far out, but our second year, we were out there with KHOU Channel 11 that was doing an interview with us, and they had asked me to come across. We were waiting for someone. So it's me and a cameraman standing there. And I can tell you exactly where we were. It was in a section called S2. It's right on the main drive when you come in.
Okay.
On the right-hand side. It's what you see in the pictures a lot of times. But there's a very nice lady that had come over to me and asked me, it's like, "Are you Scott?" I just want to thank you. Well, I'm usually in sales, so I'm always ready to talk.
Right.
It's like, so I was like, "Oh, well, thank you very much." And she goes, "No, you don't understand. Well, I've been married for 25 years, and I understand it's time to be quiet and just wait." Because you don't understand. So I come out here every week, and I come talk to my son, and she points to his gravesite right over there. I sit on that bench, and I talk to him for about an hour. "Yes, ma'am." It's like, but today I came out, and she turns around, and she points at everybody. She goes, "Today I'm not alone."
Aww.
And she said, "I can't thank you enough, because now there's other people in the same position she is." The funniest part of the whole day, though, is the cameraman standing next to me was with tears in his eyes, said, "I can't believe I didn't have my camera on."
he missed the great story. He's sitting there engrossed.
The other one we have is every year during our instruction process of how to lay the wreaths and things like that, one of the big challenges is to have young folks understand what these guys in uniform do for a living.
Okay.
And I can't explain it. So we ask them, all of our veterans, to raise their hand or stand up.
That's great.
They're in the ceremony, and I make them keep it up, which is just entertaining by itself. I make all the kids stand up and turn around and look. I said, "Find one of those hands before you leave here. You give it a firm handshake or you give it a hug, and you tell them thank you."
Oh, I love that.
Later in that day, this is probably year 5 or so, we had a very large, he looked like a linebacker, Army gentleman he had his dress uniform on. He was probably 320 pounds. He was a big boy. And he was out in one of the sections, and all I saw was a line of Brownie Girl Scouts all lined up. He was just sitting there with tears rolling down his face.
Oh, wow.
They were all lined up one at a time. He's on one knee as they come up and gives him a big hug.
Him. Oh,
They couldn't even get their hands around his neck.
That's awesome.
It made their day. It made his day. And I know he'll remember it forever. I've walked by, it's like, I can't.
Yes. Oh, those are beautiful stories.
And they go on and on. And we've had them with KSBJ. They share them after they come out to the event. Every year when they come out, there's always stories.
So many memories being made during moments like this, moments to cherish.
Oh, for sure.
And one thing that I would say about, I would hope that as we honor those who have gone on, who have given their lives for our freedom, I would hope it will cause us to be consciously aware of those who remain, who are among us.
Oh, for sure. And it's the worst thing for a veteran is to be forgotten.
Yes.
So we've done different things to where one of the things you're asked when you're placing a wreath, whether it's your loved one or not, is say the name out loud. You're invited to say a prayer.
That's great.
Take your time. This is someone's dad, their brother, their mother, their sister. That it's somebody's everything. It may not be anybody to you that you know, but it's someone else's everything that's there. And so we take our time. We try to do it very methodically to where we honor every single one of them. We don't want to honor just all of them as a whole. Right. Otherwise, we could just walk up to a microphone and say thanks, but that's not how this works.
That's right. So important that we pray for those families that are impacted directly, that widow, that widower, those children. And it's also a reminder to pray for those who are in active duty right now or who have served at any point in our military. And I love how you instructed those youth to find someone to give a handshake and a hug. And there are many ways. I've known of people to see a person in uniform in a grocery store somewhere and they pay for their meal or just come up to them to thank them. But whatever way we can show our appreciation, I know that means the world to our military.
I see people that, and I brought it up before, we tend to be closer to the holidays during this time.
Yes.
It's not necessarily a holiday event, but we're near that.
Sure.
We're in that mindset for sure. And I know there's thousands and thousands of people that don't know me, don't know my family, but they've put themselves in harm's way so that my family can have an enjoyable Christmas.
Yes.
And I can sit here and live free without worrying about what's happening there. And I have a lot of respect, and it's a debt that I can never repay, that someone has done that for my family. And there's a lot of them. And they'll miss those birthdays. They'll miss those holidays, the birthdays, the Mother's Days. In order to do that, I didn't ask them to do it. They did it on their own. And that's amazing to me.
So, Scott, tell us, when is event day for this year's wreath laying ceremony?
So December 15th is when we have a lot of setup. So if we have groups and organizations that want to come help, we have usually 13 to 15, 18 wheelers we have to unload. So if there's somebody who wants to help, that's the strong back person that can help us unload, we'll take that. But wreath day is December 16th, which is a Saturday. The ceremony starts at 11, but don't come at 11. If you get there at 11, you'll never get in time.
Wow.
There's 17,000 people there. It's not built for 17,000 people.
Wow. So
we encourage people to get there early. We have people getting there as early as 5 a.m. You don't need to do that. But
oh, wow. Okay. So how might a company or church group get involved?
Oh, we'd love it. Most of our sponsorships of all the wreaths are $15 to $17, $20. I mean, that's what most of it is.
Okay.
And then we have small companies that want to get involved and they want to bring volunteers. They want to help us fund the project. And then we have larger companies that donates a lot of these trucks. I mean, we have a lot of trucks that all that is done for free on their part. However, we can only lay wreaths for what we have funding for. So companies get involved. We have a lot of opportunities that we can have the companies get involved. But even better is you can bring out your entire staff and have them enjoy the day. But one of the things I like to tell people is you're going to leave there different in a very good way, whether you like it or not. And your kids are going to learn something. We encourage you to bring all the kids, even if they're little.
Great teaching opportunity.
I remember my son in the first year, he's getting ready to speak in front of, at the time, probably 8,000 people.
Wow.
He's just going to say hello and thank you. But he was still on a stage in front of 8,000 people. I said, "Are you nervous?" He said, "Of what?"
Okay.
"Yes, sir." He said, "Dad, when do they shoot the guns, the 21 guns?"
Okay.
So that's really all he wanted to know. Not the flyover. That's really all he cared about, which I just thought was funny.
Oh, wow.
But the kids get a lot out of it. The parents get a lot out of it. And in the end, it's one of my favorite places because it's the only place in life that you can meet true real life heroes. And you shake their hand with no charge, no tickets, no nothing. You can walk up to them and say hello and talk to them.
Wow. That is beautiful. If you're just tuning in, we've been talking with our guest, Scott Dimassi, who is the director for Wreaths Across America, Houston. And this is just a wonderful way to pay homage to our servicemen and women who have given the ultimate sacrifice as they have fought for our freedom. And we just want to encourage you, if you're not familiar with Wreaths Across America, this is an opportunity that everyone, every family can be a part of this beautiful ceremony. And even if you can't be there physically, you can sponsor a wreath, you can send it, you can put it on the gravesite yourself. And what I hear Scott saying is that it's not a somber, sad time. It's a time of celebration where people make sometimes lifelong connections out there as they begin to meet other people who have walked in their shoes, and had family members who have gone on. So tell us where to go for those who are listening and who want to get involved. Maybe someone has heard about those big trucks that are going to need to be unloaded. They want to help out, or someone who's interested in getting wreaths this year for the people that they know.
The best way to do it, there's two things you should do. One is go to our website at waahouston.com. Everything you need to know is on there. You can sponsor wreaths. You can send us emails if you're a company that's interested in getting involved. And then go over to our Facebook page, because our Facebook team updates weekly as to the changes. It gives people an update to where it's up to the minute timing of, hey, we're changing this and this. It keeps you up to date. We do send out we try to do it monthly, newsletter to where people know what's going on. And then as we get close to Wreath Day, there's more newsletter, more Facebook posts that will keep everybody informed as to any changes.
Awesome. Well, Scott, thank you so much for all that you and your family have done to help make this happen for these past 17 years. Again, we want to encourage you. It's a wonderful family, neighbor, friend opportunity to pay our respects to our fallen servicemen and women. And if you will go to WAA Houston, which stands for Wreaths Across America, waahouston.com, you can find all of the information you need to know. And always, as always, thank you, our wonderful listening audience, for joining us today. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone in December.
Absolutely. And so we just pray. We want to say thank you to our listening audience for joining us today. And may you and your family have a safe and enjoyable Memorial Day weekend. And as always, let's remember to celebrate our veterans and let them know how much we appreciate their sacrifice for our freedom. We hope you'll tune in again next week for another edition of Community Beat. I'm Kim Kasi McKee for 89.3 KSBJ. The focus of our show today is to commemorate and celebrate our veterans, both those who have given the ultimate sacrifice and given their lives to pay the price for our freedom, as well as those who are still serving today. And we spoke earlier with my guest, Scott Dimassi, who's the director for Wreaths Across America Houston. And now we're speaking with my dear friend, Myra Johnson with 365 Houston. Welcome, Myra. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Kim. Glad to be here.
Myra is a wealth of information and knows a lot about what's happening all around town. And I've asked Myra to share with us some of the family activities that you can enjoy for Memorial Day weekend. The last time we spoke with Myra, it was during the holiday season, and she just shared such wonderful places to go and things to do. And we want her to share some things for Memorial Day weekend. So Myra, what's going on?
Kim, thanks again for having us. I just want to say we're huge fans of KSBJ and really appreciate the work that you're doing in the community.
Thank you so much, Myra. Likewise, we appreciate your work in the community as well.
Awesome. It's a pleasure. And as with most holidays in and around Houston, there are so many different options for things to explore. I wanted to start with a really quick fun fact. Did you know that Memorial Day began as Decoration Day?
No,
Back
I did
in
not.
1868. I know.
Wow.
Yes. So back in 1868, people on both sides of the war, Union and Confederate, were encouraged to place flowers on the graves of their relatives, friends, or comrades who fell during the war. And so the month of May was picked because flowers are typically in full bloom during this season. So
Yes.
I really think this weekend gives us a chance to honor, sacrifice and new beginnings and growth that can all come from times of discord. And so we've compiled a really short list of a few things that you can do this weekend. Today, actually, I'm reminded that back in April, the Department of Veterans Affairs announced its 20th 1,000-mile march in honor of veterans and service members. This is a
Wow.
collaboration between the VA's National Cemetery Administration and Carry the Load. They are hosting rallies across the country. It's at 38 national cemeteries along 5 separate routes that cover 48 states. And so all those routes converge on this weekend, Memorial Day weekend. So here in Houston, if you want to participate in that march and rally, it's scheduled for today at 12:45 at Houston National Cemetery. So again, that's 12:45 today at Houston National Cemetery. No donation is required. It's free, but you're just asked to register online. And I really can't think of a better way to honor this weekend by spending time with patriots and remembering
Yes.
those who sacrificed on our behalf. Was shocked to learn that over 214,000 volunteers
Wow.
participate in that event.
Oh, that
Yeah.
is massive.
Massive event across the country. So a great movement to be a part of. And tonight at George R. Brown is Comic Palooza. That's the largest annual multi-genre comic book science fiction gaming convention in the
Wow.
southern United States. So it's a huge deal for Houston. They have tons of unique art and handcrafted good exhibits, some celebrities stopping by, some interesting panel discussions. And it's just a fantastic contribution to the Houston event scene. Great entertainment and music. So encourage you guys to go to George R. Brown and check that out. Tomorrow, if you're looking for something to do and you're looking to kind of be outdoors, the Woodlands area is hosting Memorial Day and the Woodlands Festival. Really great initiative featuring children's activities and live music and concessions. 2 things I love about this event. One is the fireworks display that's choreographed to a great soundtrack. And 2, Kim, I know you will love this. They have a care package drop-off booth. So they're accepting donations of recommended items to be shipped to the troops. So really
Yes,
love
I
that
love
aspect.
that. Absolutely.
Right? It's a really great idea, and I love that component. So, and I should have mentioned, this is the other thing I love that about this event. It's free. The event is free,
Yes,
and parking is
$3.99.
free.
I love
It's hard to find free parking too. So that event starts on Sunday, so tomorrow, 5 to 9 p.m. So a little bit later in the evening, might want to just go ahead and stay overnight in the Woodlands. It's a great area. Every time I go there, I overeat at Fogo de Chao. So I have the best cheese bread on the planet. So if I'm in the Woodlands, that's where I'll be for dinner. And on Monday, if you happen to be an early bird and you'll be, up and around at 7:30 a.m. to be exact, and you want to kickstart the day with a walk or a run, or in my case, a slow and steady jog, the Houston Running Company is hosting its 4th race in its holiday series. It's a Memorial Day 5 and 10K Never Forget Run. So it starts at St. Thomas High School on Memorial Drive, and the course runs parallel to Buffalo Bayou. Costs range between $20 to $60. And kids are welcome. And I will say, as a recurring turkey trotter, and Kim, you will find me like fully in a costume and on Thanksgiving morning.
Wow, I'd love to see the photo of that one.
Yes, it's a great way to start the day with the family, right? Bring the kids out, gather some friends, and again, just being able to see Buffalo Bayou and hanging out with folks for a good cause. It's a really great event. One thing that came to mind for our listeners today, that might want to attend a more formal ceremony, the Galveston Naval Museum is hosting an event that's been described as very inspiring and meaningful. So at 10 a.m., again on Monday, Mayor Brown is going to give a speech, and guests will have refreshments and experience a guided docent tour where they can really learn a lot about the history of the weekend and the legacy of the Navy. So I'm all about that parking, right? So insider note here, free parking is available 2 hours
Excellent.
prior to the event, as well as free museum admission. And so again, that event is Monday, May 29th at 10 a.m. at the Galveston Naval Museum. And to round out our list, who doesn't love going to a good Astros game? So the
yes.
Astros,
Go Stros.
Go Stros. The Astros are playing the Minnesota Twins on Monday afternoon at 3:10. So they are going to be announcing some promotions this weekend, probably some kind of jersey or giveaway, but definitely a great way to round out the weekend. And, we here at 365 Houston encourage you to gather close to those around you, learn something new, meet someone new, and enjoy everything the city of Houston has to offer. Thanks for having us on, Kim.
Thank you, Myra. And if you will just let us know, where should we go to subscribe to 365 Houston, just to learn about these wonderful events literally every week? Tell us where to go.
So absolutely, great question. Check us out at www.365houston.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Those are great platforms to connect with us. Submit your event ideas or suggestions, and we definitely want your feedback on additional things that we should cover. So would love to meet you and talk to you. Shoot us an email at info@365thingsinhouston.com. Again, that's info@365thingsinhouston.com.
Well, thank you so much to our guest, Myra Johnson from 365 Houston. Myra, you're always such a resource for us in helping to keep our families engaged, again, in all of the wonderful things that Houston has to offer. So thanks again for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having us anytime.
We pray that you and your family will have a safe and enjoyable Memorial Day weekend while we celebrate our veterans, both past and present. To our audience, thank you for joining us, and we hope you'll join us again next week for another edition of Community Beat. I'm Kim Kasi McKee on 89.3 KSBJ.
Thanks for joining us for Community Beat with Kim Kasi McKee. Join us every Saturday morning at 5:30 on 89.3 KSBJ.